Welcome back to Weirder After Dark, the podcast. We get into all things New England weird. My name is Sean, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Cathy.
And we are back for our second episode of Whispers After Dark, our listener tales experience. Are you two pumped?
I am ready.
I'm ready for some redemption. I was over last week.
Yeah, you and I both, we went down with the ship. That's definitely how that went down. But this week we got Cathy, your first time in the hot seat. How you feeling?
I'm excited.
Yeah?
I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to do it.
Well, I say we don't waste any time and we just dive right into it.
Agreed.
All right, well, let's do it. We have our first tale here, and this is from Mark. I grew up in Gardner on the other side of town from the Pierce house, but I lived there for a long time. We call the S.K. Pierce Mansion the Victorian. I think that's a cool name. I like that.
Very cool.
It was good to hear the history in the episode. In fact, next time I'm in Gardner, I might see if they have a tour slot available. I always wanted to see the inside. When you were in Gardner, did you see the big chair? There are technically two of them, but for me, the real one is in front of the middle school. It's like a 2-story chair. You guys remember the chair driving in?
I do remember the chair.
It wasn't 2 stories, though.
Yeah, not that one. We got to see next time we're in that area. We got to go see that big ass chair. As your episode pointed out, it used to be a big industrial town. Very much a I lost my job today and had a new one by the end of the day sort of place. I remember walking by at least one furniture factory back in 3rd grade. Most of them are gone now. I also remember one of my teachers telling me about one of the stores downtown. Back in the day, it was mostly one big store before all, the big box stores existed. This one was called Goodnow Pearson's, something like that. I guess they would have an animal in captivity that would be a draw for kids. So the parents would shop there, and I want to say it was like a monkey or something crazy like that.
The parents would go in and shop and just be like, drop their kid off at like the cage and be like, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, look, a monkey. He'll be back in a couple hours.
Go play with the monkey.
So good. So good. Would it have worked? Would you have
It
done
would have
that?
worked,
Yeah.
Oh,
If I was a kid, I'd be like, I'm going to go see the monkey in the cage.
So good. So I have a minor spooky story about Gardner. For a frame of reference, I'm also very skeptical. I think folklore and spooky dealings are fun, but just that. I believe what I can see and understand. But with that being said, back in the summer of 2001, my 2 friends and I were doing an awfully dumb thing one night and decided to walk to an old summer camp at the far edge of town. We got as far as Gardner Mount Wachusett Community College. The school had a big floodlight pointing towards the street with big trees in the yard. As we were walking by, something drew all 3 of our attention. Something ran between 2 trees. Something humanoid, but weird. Its knees went up to its chest. It also ran very fast, but at this point, the details are a little fuzzy. Because of the floodlight, I could only see a silhouette. I have a clear memory of the inhuman way its knees went up so high.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's all leg. It's all leg. One of my friends fainted, and then the other started marching off towards it. Fuck you. What? Oh, man. I stopped my friend from walking off alone, got my other friend up, and we walked back following the most well-lit path home. I don't know what we saw. I like to think it was just a shadow of a bug or something.
It wasn't
What?
a bug.
It sounded like a shadow
no
of a
fucking
bug.
bug.
It was not a bug. But that would be highly coincidental that the shadow would look humanoid. But I can't think of what else it could be. The college is on the ground of an old farm of some local prominent person. Lots of history there. There's still even earth ramps from when the barns used to be. But that's it now. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the story. I'm looking forward to more episodes of your pod. Thanks for making it, and I hope it does really well. Mark.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
I appreciate the kind words at the end. And Mark's a really good dude because I don't know that if my friend passed out and I had that creepy fucking thing in the woods, if I would be like, hey, let me help drag your ass up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to think I'd be a good person, but I don't know, Mark. You might be better than me.
Yeah, Mark, that's the only response is just to turn and run. You had it exactly right.
Yeah, I agree.
And the friend that ran towards it? Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
You need to end that friendship. Okay? That person's going to get you killed. That's the person in the slasher films.
They
They
are
go
making
first.
some bad
Yeah.
choices.
Yeah, cars running. How about we hide in the shed?
Yeah.
No, we don't hide in the fucking shed. But what do you two think? What do we think here?
Well, I remember when we went to Gardner. So I don't remember all those details. I think it's unique that they used someplace knowing that we'd been there.
Yeah,
So I'm going to say I think this one is real.
based off of just how detailed it is.
Yeah. And I remember the chair. So I'm going to say, yeah.
What about the cryptid though? Cryptid was not a ton of details.
Not a
for
lot of
whatever it saw.
detail. But
Lots of leg.
But that kind of, I think, adds to it a little bit for me. The
Ooh.
fact that there's not a lot of detail because maybe you're so freaked out. Like we've talked about this before with like Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that about you're scared, so you're not remembering all the details.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why there isn't a lot. I don't know.
Right,
Yeah.
all right.
I still got 2 more stories. So
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I have to hear the other 2 stories, but the fact that his one friend fainted and the other one started to walk towards it, that part I'm struggling with. I think the only thing you could possibly do is faint or run. Don't walk towards it. But part of that story sounded very true to me too. The detail he put in, and
Okay. So it sounds like you're like, I need to hear more.
yeah, I'm on the fence,
All right.
and I don't want to be wrong again.
yeah, and it's hard when you've only heard one story.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can dig into our second one. Gang, think about where you're at right now. All right. Our next one here is from Jared. You guys wanted a listener tale? Guess what? You got one. First things first, I love your show and you 3 keeping New England so weird. The SK Pierce episode convinced me that my wife and Sean are the same. They both will burn a house to the ground at the first sign of a ghost. You ain't wrong, Jared. You ain't wrong. My story comes from Coos County, New Hampshire. The North Country! He put an exclamation mark. I had to do a little
He's
extra.
excited about it. It's known as the North Country.
My in-laws' house is a hot spot for spirits. This is due to multiple deaths inside of the house. All natural, I assure you. My wife tells me that there are multiple weird and strange occurrences in the house. However, the only ones I've ever experienced deal with George, her grandfather. He passed 11 years ago in the house and hasn't left. To give that some context, the spare bedroom is a long addition to the first floor running the length of the house, and the door is directly across from the bathroom door. There is a bed on one end of the room and 2 large wooden chairs at the other end. These chairs belong to George and his wife. When we stay over, we sleep in that spare bedroom. Every time I stay there, when the lights are turned off and my wife and I crawl under the covers, I'm instantly aware of something watching me. This wouldn't be so bad. However, the feeling is always coming from the foot of the bed. I feel as if there is an older man standing at the end of the bed, staring right into me. I can feel his eyes pierce the blankets and seem to bore into my brain, almost as if he can see into my soul. Nothing else happens, and eventually I fall asleep. But falling asleep with a man standing at the end of your bed each night is, needless to say, horrifying.
It's a little uncomfortable.
Something else I've experienced is George's shuffling. My wife tells me that when her and her sisters were kids, they would be in the living room watching TV or playing with the toys after dark. And you were right. It does get weirder after dark. Anyway, George, who would be in the spare bedroom, would shuffle out and cross the dining room to the bathroom with a flashlight in hand. Many years after his passing, I would wake up at night and use the bathroom myself. As I'm going about my business, I hear shuffling on the other side of the door. Soft at first, but growing louder and more pronounced every second. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, assuming my wife woke up and got out of bed and decided that she needed to use the bathroom as well. Well, I finished, and when I opened the door, I was greeted with nothing but pitch black house. My wife was sound asleep in the spare room.
Oh, that's so much worse.
Not a single soul could be seen.
He was convinced that his wife was getting up and knew exactly what it was, and then nobody was there.
Nothing's
that makes
there.
it so much worse.
That's terrifying.
It does. Not a single soul could be seen, and I want to put an emphasis on seen. I went back to bed, pulled up the covers, and dealt with George's eyes drilling into me as I fell back asleep. Again, so happy to have found your podcast. Keep up the amazing work and keep this shit weird, Jared. All right, Cathy, you're in the hot seat. What do we think about Jared's tale? George, standing at the end of the bed, staring at him as he sleeps, shuffling around the bathroom at night. This seems personable.
It does. Yeah. It seems like there's like a personal touch to it. I think I'm going to say this one's real.
Ooh, just no debate. Why?
Yeah.
What's bringing you there?
It feels real.
Feels real?
Feels real.
Even though, he's saying how awesome we are. And
I know.
That still feels real.
That was in the last one. There's something about his wife and going and visiting and like that feeling of being watched.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I think this one's
all
real.
right. So Cathy's leaning. The last one's fake. These 2 are real. Chris?
I'm going with real so far.
Yeah.
Ooh,
but I still
okay.
haven't
I'm hedging
heard,
my bets.
and I still haven't heard the third story. So
It could be a game changer.
it could be a game changer.
All
So
right.
yeah, I gotta see.
Gang, two real ones? Do you think any of these are lies? Let's find out what the third one has in store for us. This one is from Marion. Hi, gang. Love the podcast. It's the perfect mix of creepy and fun. I wanted to share a story from my hometown of Granbury, Connecticut. It's one of those local legends that's been passed around for generations, but there are enough odd details to make you wonder if it's more than just a story. There's a patch of woods here called Birch Hollow, And back in the late 1800s, a woman named Edna Renshaw lived on its edge. She wasn't exactly well liked, but people left her alone. Some called her a healer, others whispered that she was a witch. Either way, I'm not sure which one it was, but if their animals were sick or they couldn't sleep or if they had some other problem that just couldn't get fixed by medicine, people would visit Edna. What made her unusual, though, was her price and what she made people pay. She refused to take anyone's money. Instead, she just asked for really strange things. Like, supposedly, she asked for a rainwater collected on a full moon once. Super strange. Yeah, that's weird.
That's odd.
It's pretty weird.
That's pretty witchy.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless you're a witch,
Yeah,
then
true.
it's totally reasonable.
Completely normal. Other times, she may ask for jewelry that the people would wear every day. Most people thought she was just eccentric and a little bit crazy, but others said she was collecting people's lives in order to curse them.
Ooh.
Yeah. The story goes that one fall, a young girl named Lila went missing while picking berries near Birch Hollow. Her family searched everywhere, but the only thing they found was one of her ribbons tied to a low branch near Edna's property. Naturally, the town turned their suspicions on Edna. When they confronted her, she denied everything. She even let them search her house, but they didn't find Lila or anything incriminating, really. They found nothing. Still, as you can imagine, the town went a little crazy, and a group of men actually went back to scare Edna into leaving the town for good. Now, no one knows the true story, but apparently her house burnt to the ground and Edna was just gone. Some said she fled. Others apparently believe that she just burned with the house. And
Aw,
kind of sad,
that's
right?
sad, yeah.
If that's not weird enough, here's where it gets a little weirder. A few years later, apparently another girl went missing, this time a little closer to town. When they went out searching for her, they found a small bundle of wood near the edge of Birch Hollow. It was a doll made out of twigs, wrapped in a fabric that looked like it was part of Lila's missing dress.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah,
That's
right?
freaky.
To this day, people say Birch Hollow has a bad feeling about it. And I'm not going to lie to you, my dad swears that when he was a teenager, he and his friends went camping near there and woke up to find their campsite torn apart. No tracks, no signs of animals, nothing. The town's grown a lot since Edna's time, but no one has ever built anything near Birch Hollow since. They say the ground there is tainted. It might just be an old ghost story, but I'll admit I'm going nowhere near those woods.
Well played. Well played.
Yeah, smart.
I hope you all can use this for the show. Keep up the great work. Marion.
That's such a good story.
Witchy. It's witchy.
I love stories like that, like cursed lands and witches.
Yeah. What do you
I
think?
was going to say like in The Missing Girl, but I don't like children going missing. But it's like just overall, it's just
You're like, I love when children go missing.
It's such a good story. It's so good. I want this one to be real, though there's a few things that pop out at me.
Okay.
So what is it called? Birch Hollow?
Birch Hollow.
Every time you said Birch Hollow, I kept thinking Sleepy Hollow.
Ooh, okay.
Mm.
So for me, that just was like the hollow sounds fake.
Oh, okay.
It sounds too story.
Got you.
And then the second thing that was like a red flag for me is you have this area that sounds really nice, and yet there's land that nobody's building on. If we've learned anything from stories, we're all greedy. I can't imagine like America's greedy, right? Like I can't imagine that there's like this prime property and they're like, nah, that shit's cursed. We're
Cathy's-
not going to build there.
Kathy's like, I lived in a capitalistic society long enough to know they are going to exploit
They're
that
going to
land.
build. And even if they're not going to build, they're going to market that shit so that they can make money off of it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Haunted woods every Halloween.
I'm going to stick with it. My gut is telling me this is the fake story.
All right, you're calling Marion a liar.
I am.
Oh, Marion,
Sorry,
if you're
Miriam.
listening. Woo.
But listen, Marion, you might be a liar, but that is a great fucking story.
I love it. Chris.
I'm going with the story is true. I'm going to go the opposite direction.
Why? What makes you feel true about this?
I think that there's a lot of urban legend and myth over time that gets retold. And I think she's telling the story of something creepy and strange that got blown up a little bit.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I believe all the details of this story,
Yeah.
but I could definitely see this being a local urban legend myth and there being a strange lady in the woods who practiced witchcraft at the time.
That's totally
Okay.
the vibe that I got from this.
Let's be
Oh, I-
honest, guys love to go into the woods with guns and threaten people.
That's
It's a thing that we do.
You got a point.
Yeah.
We're always shooting shit.
Okay. Anyways. All right. Well, Chris, with that in mind, though, if you think that this one's true where are you at with Jared and his story of the ghostly George, and Mark and the cryptid from Gardner?
I'm going with Mark from Gardner as being the false story.
You think that one's the false
I believe
story?
so, yeah. The fact that his friend walked towards the cryptid and his other friend passed out, I don't know. That was a little bit too much for me.
Okay. Just because he passed it, you just feel like people wouldn't react that way?
Yeah, I feel like the reaction would be turn and run.
Like it's too dramatic.
Not too dramatic, just not the natural reaction.
Okay. All right. Well, we have 3 stories. Just a quick recap. We've got Jared, and Jared had his story about George, ghostly experience, standing at the edge of the bed, watching him as he sleeps. We've got Mark from Gardner, who ultimately saw a cryptid on a walk late at night. And then we have Marion, who has a witchy tale from her hometown. So start the unveil process. What we're going to do here is the first story that I'm going to share is going to be that the story from Jared and George staring as a ghost is real. That is a real story.
You and me.
Correct, yep.
Yep. I have chosen that one to split the room.
I saw what you did.
To build the angst here. Only one of you can be
correct. I got
correct.
a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
50-50.
And let's just give a quick shout out. Jared, thank you for the kind words on our podcast.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, that was such a nice story. So glad that you reached out. Many thanks.
And sorry, Jared, that you have a spirit of a old man watching you while you sleep.
Yeah, it is something really uncomfortable about that.
Yeah. Just tell him, say, George, I hear you. I see you. I know you are here. I am here. We can coexist. It's all good, George. It's all good.
Everything's okay. All right. So the next story that I'm going to reveal, remember, Cathy and Chris, you're both split on this, but is Mark from Gardner is also a real story. It is a real story. Cathy is right. Chris, you are 0 for 2, brother.
I'm 0 for, okay.
You're 0 for 2. But yeah, Mark supposedly saw this cryptid that's all leg, knees up to the chest.
So creepy.
Inside of Gardner, Massachusetts.
I really don't want that to be true.
I know. We are getting lots of real cryptid tales so far in these Whispers After Dark episodes, and I don't love it either.
It is making me seriously reconsider whether cryptids are like a thing or not, man.
Yeah.
Because there just seems to be a lot of them in this area.
Yeah,
we're getting a lot of tales from people seeing strange shit in the woods, and it makes me feel a little uncomfortable.
It's making me want to move away from where we're living because we live in the woods.
Yeah. Hey, good news. At least Gardner is a couple hours away from us. So we've got that.
Yeah.
We got distance. Yep. But if it's all leg, it can probably run pretty well.
Yeah.
But who knows? All right, though. But Cathy, that means that you were right. You were a winner.
Right.
You were our first Weirder After Dark guessing correctly
that
individual.
Is right.
Gold
Yay.
medal, and that means that the false story was our witchy tale from Marion, not real.
It's kind of disappointing because, like I said, that was a really good story.
Yeah, Miriam's a great writer.
Yeah, that is a good story. I those are my kind of stories.
Yeah.
Like I like those stories.
Well, gang, if you're listening, you want to try to trick Cathy, you now know what kind of story she's drawn to. So put that in your arsenal and in your repertoire. But with that, this is fun. This is another 3 really good stories. So from our 2 true listeners, Mark and Jared, thank you so much for taking the time to write those stories and to send them out to us. We appreciate you not only just listening to us, but like I said, taking the time to pen that. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And any last thoughts before we wrap?
No, I mean, I just agree with everything you said. I think, this is a great, fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And I love getting the listeners involved, kind of makes us feel connected to them. So, I love it.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing these episodes. I didn't know how this was going to go when we first started them, but I think this might be one of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully, gang, hopefully you agree as well. And if you do, make sure that you like this shit. Make sure that you share this shit and make sure that you subscribe and send it off to every single person you know. But if you're in love with this shit, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. You are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, wherever you are. Go ahead, take a few seconds, drop a rating on that and drop a comment. It would mean the absolute world to us. And lastly, if you could, I just want to go ahead and let you know that we are always open and looking for more of our listener tales. So if you have something weird, something creepy, something strange and unexplainable that has happened to you in New England or outside of New England, if you're a listener, you can shoot that into us. That is what we are looking for. And you can send those tales to us, the gang, at weirderafterdark.com. And with that, hope you had a wonderful time. And remember, it always gets a little weird after dark.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.